Welcome back to another video from the Shed End podcast, a match review for tonight's Champions League game, Chelsea versus RB Salzburg at Stamford Bridge, 8 p.m. kickoff. Before we get into that preview, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up and let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. And if you haven't done so already, as I always say on these videos, the Linktree link in the description will take you to all our social accounts, our Spotify and Apple podcast as well. So make sure you hit those up. Now, massive night for not just Graham Potter, but for Chelsea fans who unfortunately won't be watching their team play this weekend as well. But a massive game off the back of the Dinamo Zagreb performance, which was, let's be honest, flat to say the least. It was a poor performance amongst all the teams. Again, done another video for that already. If you haven't done that, check that out. We spoke about the press conference yesterday in a separate video. So today we're going to try and hopefully look at what we can expect from Graham Potter and Chelsea going forward. I mean, it's a massive game. It's almost a must-win game when you think about it. You look back to the way that we played it, as I said, in Croatia, very poor under the circumstances. You could tell there was a lot of things that weren't necessarily right in the squad. Something has clearly gone wrong. Ultimately, it ended with Thomas Tuchel being sacked the following day after that result in Zagreb. But RB Salzburg is a difficult team to come against. I mean, they're a team that have to be respected, as I said in the match review after our defeat in Croatia. This is a team that we have to take serious in any other team. You know, it doesn't matter who we come up against. But I think the one thing that is alarming is if we do lose tonight, the next two Champions League games that we have is against AC Milan, and they're back-to-back, home and away. So you don't want to be going into those and losing those and having 0 points at the point where we play Zagreb and Salzburg again. So I think this is a must-win game. I think it's a must-win game from many factors. The first one being obviously Graham Potter as head coach. Massive important night for him to get things right, to get off onto a winning start as well. The mentality amongst the team, you would expect there to be the so-called bounce back that you get from, you know, a manager being sacked and a new appointment of a head coach or a manager coming into the club. You expect that to be there. I expect it tonight. We're going to see some of these players that potentially we've criticised on not just this channel, on other YouTube channels, podcasts as well, Twitter, wherever. You know, we've criticised a lot of the players over the last couple of weeks, and I think we're going to see, or I'm hoping we're going to see some of those players finally giving us that performance that we deserve as Chelsea fans. The fans want to see good football, good performances. It doesn't have to be slick and, you know, sexy football. It doesn't have to be that. It just needs to be a good performance, putting in an 11 out of 10 performance on the pitch and leaving everything out there every game. I think that's what I'm hoping we're going to see from the players as well. But I think it's going to be difficult for Potter because obviously this is his first game in charge. He's only recently been appointed. There's been a lot of changes that's happened at the club as well. He would have obviously had a lot more in terms of the Fulham game being postponed. He's had a lot more time with the squad. And one of the things that came out today was I think he's having one-to-ones with each player individually, just to assess, understand where they feel they are, etc., which is understandable. You know, I think that must happen across every football club when a new manager or head coach comes into appointment. So, I mean, look, Graham Potter's had experience playing in European football. He's had the moments where he's played. I think he got to the Europa League semi-final when he was managing in Sweden. So he's had you know, experience playing in European environments. Obviously, he's not done that at this level, which is one of the things that I pointed out in one of the previous videos. This is a massive test for Graham Potter. What I think we will see tonight is not much change from what Thomas Tuchel potentially has been doing, and I think there'll be a reason for that, and that reason will be just to test what needs to be done. You know, almost testing on the job. You know, you have to assess some of the players, and you know, to be honest, I don't think much needs to change. I think it's more of a mentality thing for some of the players, and you know, I think when any manager, they lose trust in the players and the players lose trust in the manager, which seems to be some of the cases in some of the aspects with some of the players under Thomas Tuchel. You got that down tools element of some of the players, and I think when a new manager or head coach comes in, it just gives a player a new lease of life. And I think of someone like Hakim Ziyech or Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, those players that haven't really been playing really well, or didn't play very well under Thomas Tuchel at the start of this season. I'm expecting big things for them if they start today. I'm expecting big performances. We criticised Thomas Tuchel, or I criticised Thomas Tuchel a lot for not playing players in the correct position. So I think there's no excuses for that now. I think, look at the fact that we have a number 9 in Patrick Aubameyang. We have the third centre back in Wesley Fofana, so that alleviates Reece James having to go to that right centre back position as much as he did at the start of the season as well. We've got cover the left side in terms of Marc Cucurella, Ben Chilwell as well. So I think there's a lot of positive to take if we can win tonight as well. And as I said, it's a shame that we're going into this game and then not being able to build up that momentum over the weekend for the Liverpool game, which has been postponed. But this, for me, is a massive test, as I said, for Graham Potter, but more so for the players. I think the fans, it won't take long before, there'll be some nervous fans, I'm sure, in the stadium, but it won't take long for the fans to voice their opinion if things aren't going the way that they should be. This is a game that, on paper, you look at, especially with the amount that's been spent, you'd expect us to win. But as I said at the start, I think one of the things that we did last week was we went in and underestimated Dinamo Zagreb. We underestimated how well they would perform, the champions of the Croatian league as well. And as I said, Salzburg is a team that we have to respect. It's as simple as that. We have to respect them. So line up as well. I mean, I have tried to do one, and I'm going to share it with you guys now. I mean, it's hard to say because, Graham Potter, we know that he likes to play 3-5-2. We know that he's experimental. He's come out in his press conference. He said he wants an attacking, flexible squad. And I think that there's signs that we can do that. I mean, this squad is flexible. There's players that can play multiple positions. So I think for me personally, the squad that I've gone with tonight, just noticed a mistake. Let's get rid of that mistake really quickly. Obviously Mendy is injured, so there's the first mistake that you guys have seen. I can't be bothered editing that, so that's one for that will stay in this edit. But Kepa in goal, obviously Mendy being injured. I mean, yeah, this is a key moment for Kepa. There's a lot of talk around a lot of players, but one of them being Kepa, who was hopefully looking for a move, whether that was on loan or to be sold in the summer. He's stayed at the club. Obviously we've got Selena, who's coming in from Chicago Fire in January as well, so we'll be, we still got Bettinelli there as well, so there's a lot of competition in that area of the field. But I think tonight, with Mendy being injured, this is the perfect opportunity for Kepa to come into his own. I mean, he's proven that under Thomas Tuchel, when he's been asked to play, he's played really well. He's done well in goal, in between the sticks. But I think the consistency is something that we need to see from Kepa. And unfortunately for him, apart from when Mendy was at the African Cup of Nations, he hasn't really had that opportunity to do that. He's always been the second, the second choice in terms of goalkeepers. So this is a perfect time for me for Kepa. New manager coming in. New coaching staff around him as well, or some new coaching staff around him. And this is the moment for me for Kepa to show what he can do as a goalkeeper. He didn't have the best of times under Frank Lampard. I think that was a lot of pressure put on him as well. And I think Mendy took a lot of that pressure off him, allowed him to mature on and off the field. So I'm excited to see how he performs. As I said, he hasn't really he didn't put a foot wrong under Thomas Tuchel. So I'm expecting more of the same from him tonight as well. The defense, this is my lineup. This is just what I would go with. But I honestly don't think any of us as Chelsea fans could predict what Graham Potter is going to do tonight. I really don't. Personally, if it was me and I was Graham Potter, I wouldn't really change much at this moment. I think we're going to have to give Graham Potter, 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 games to allow him to understand who is naturally the best player to play where, what's his best 11, get that consistency, the cohesion amongst the team as well. So I would go with the usual back, 3 as the centre backs in Fofana, Thiago Silva and Koulibaly. I think Silva's going to be key in this game. I think he's someone, again, for me, I keep calling him the warrior. That's his new nickname on here. He is like a warrior. He doesn't stop. He doesn't give up. Plays through injuries at times as well. And I think it's going to be really crucial. We got to see in the game against Zagreb, Wesley Fofana at times just didn't really. He got caught out a few times, especially for the goal as well. Not to say that it was his fault, but there was times when I thought Wesley Fofana was caught out, and I think he needs that experience next to him, just as much as maybe Koulibaly can offer that as well. But I think he'll benefit having Thiago Silva next to him in a game like this. So I've gone for the back three: Fofana, Thiago Silva, and Koulibaly as my three centre backs. Now it's going to be interesting because I know that at Brighton, Graham Potter would use wingers as opposed to the sort of fullbacks in those sort of wider positions on the pitch, and it just begged the question: does he bring in Cucurella, who he's worked with before? We've seen Marc Cucurella play left centre back at Brighton for him as well. What does that mean for the wingers, for those wide areas? Does it mean that we potentially might play Christian Pulisic there with, I don't know, Hakim Ziyech on the other side? It's difficult to understand how he's going to line up tonight, but I personally would still go with Marc Cucurella on my left side as a fullback, a left fullback or left wing back, and Reece James on the other side as well. I think this is one of those games where we're going to need them to be higher up the pitch and use that high line that we tried to do in Croatia awfully, but do it better in this game tonight as well. And I think Reece James, Marc Cucurella, who if they can deliver as we get further up to the pitch, if they can deliver those balls to Aubameyang or Sterling, whoever's playing in those attacking roles, I think it's home advantage as well. You'd expect them to be putting them on a plate for them, to be honest, as well. But I think the key area that I'm looking at and I'm thinking how is he gonna line up is in the midfield, because yes, Jorginho's fit, yes, Kovacic is fit, but I'm hoping we see Zakaria. I really want to see him playing in that sort of DM role. Maybe you could potentially bring in, I don't know, Zakaria to play more of this role here, with Mason Mount filling in this role. I know it's going to go against what I personally said and also what a lot of Chelsea fans said around Mason Mount playing in that central role, but I do feel with the support of Zakaria in that DM, that defensive midfield role, maybe you're going to allow Mason Mount to move forward slightly here. The same with Kovacic as well. You think about Marc Cucurella, who will be playing alongside Kovacic down that left side, and and Zakaria to play in the middle as well. It just allows Mason Mount again to drift into these roles here, which I would expect him to do. Leaving that space here. Sterling will be occupying this space here as well, with Aubameyang potentially playing more central down the middle. And again, leaving Reece James the opportunity to have all this space in front of him to his disposal, which I think, he flourishes when he does that, when he's got the time to run on the ball and ping in a beautiful ball. We know that he can do that. So it'd be interesting. I think the midfield is the one that I'm kind of thinking, how are we going to line up? How are we going to look lined up? And, I think Zakaria, I think this would be a perfect opportunity to bring him into the team, into the fold, and allow him to understand how Chelsea play. I mean, this is a clean slate for all of these players, but I think this would be a perfect game to just test how we play in an actual match rather than just training with the team for Zakaria. Eventually that Liverpool game will come up, and other games, massive games, and you don't want to be throwing them into Premier League games without testing the waters maybe in a Champions League game. And I think this would be perfect for Zakaria. I think Mateo Kovacic has to start tonight. I think it's a given. You'll notice obviously Jorginho isn't in the team, but I think Graham Potter does have to change something in that midfield, because as I've said on here before on many occasions, that's where the battle is for me in midfield. And there's been times when our midfield's just been walked through by teams, and they've just walked it right through midfield. No real attempt to challenge. It's just been an open space for them to go through. So I think, like I said, if you've got Zakaria playing in that DM role, maybe Mason Mount dropping back into midfield with Kovacic as well, for the support especially. And then we got to see sort of under Thomas Tuchel, Mason Mount was playing in that sort of hybrid role almost, without possession and in possession. There was two different objectives for Mason Mount or whoever was playing in that role. Same with, I think, Ruben Loftus-Cheek at times as a right wing back in one of the games, and then he'd float into midfield as well when we had possession. I think it was against Tottenham. So I think this is, for me personally, this is the team I would line up with. Obviously, I've gone for Sterling and Patrick Aubameyang up front. I think Sterling, I think, is, for me, arguably one of the players that has been trying to, he's not afraid to shoot. And you look at who's going to get those goals, and it looks like, for me, Sterling. And I thought their link up in the game against Croatia, against Dinamo Zagreb, worked. It worked really well. I thought even Kai Havertz, to give him his credit, I thought he played really well in that game in terms of that front three trying to link up. The intensity was there for probably the first 10-15 minutes of the game, but it kind of fizzled out after that. So I think if we're, it's one of the things I've always said on here, we don't have that consistency, especially in attack. You'd expect it now with defensively, but I think offensively we've got to get that consistency. With Sterling, whether that's Aubameyang, Sterling, or Kai Havertz, Aubameyang, or Sterling and Havertz and Aubameyang, all three of them. But we need to get that consistency. So I'm looking forward to seeing Patrick Aubameyang. You have to remember, it was only 2 weeks ago that he was held at gunpoint, signed for the club, comes into the club, makes his debut, and then he's sort of still having to leave his family and fly to Croatia and fly back. Thomas Tuchel leaves. You'd expect Graham Potter to have been able to have a couple of training sessions with the team, and like I said, he's having one-to-ones with them. So I expect Patrick Aubameyang to start tonight as well. Maybe bringing Armando Broja at some point as well. Maybe bringing Jorginho, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic. This is all a clean slate for all of these players. So I'm looking forward to how we line up. It's going to be interesting to see how we line up. What does Graham Potter do? More importantly, I just want 3 points tonight. I think that's the key thing. 3 points and a good performance, and I'll take that. With no football for Chelsea this weekend, I think I want to just see a good performance from these players and give the fans something who are travelling. Down or wherever you're travelling from. I know there's a couple of people. Shout out the Couch Critic who's flew all the way over to England to watch the game. So I think there's a lot of emphasis on this game. I think because of Graham Potter, because of how we played against the Dinamo Zagreb as well in Croatia. So I mean, if I had to go for a prediction, I think I'd probably say 2-1. I think they will score. I think Salzburg will score, but I think we'll have enough in the tank to see the game out, and I think we have to put in a performance. Like I said, more so for the players and for the fans, but more so for Graham Potter as well to get off to a winning start. So it's going to be interesting how we line up. Good luck to Graham Potter because he's going to need that 100%. But I'm confident we're going to win. I'm confident. I think we've got enough about us to win that game. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that we win. As I said, for those travelling down, enjoy the game. I think Theo's there. We're going to get our podcast up and running again very soon. I know I keep saying that, but we will. Like I said earlier on, subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Who would you start? Who would you go with? What's your score predictions as well ahead of kickoff? And as I said before, the Linktree link in the description will take you to all the social accounts as well, but you can also see them at the bottom of the screen. So until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and we'll be back with a match review tomorrow at some point after the game, hopefully with 3 points in the bag.